Welcome to our live web event. Today we're going to talk about application security in browsers, G Suite, and Office 365. There's a lot of interesting topics here. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Grover Reiter. I'm a mathematician and data scientist. I focused in the undergrad and graduate world on more, I'd call it abstract mathematics and academic mathematics, topology, quantum electrodynamics. But now I'm focused on applied artificial intelligence products. I'm the chief marketing officer here at Spin Technology. And here I get a front row seat to see all the AI-based cyber protection. And we're going to drill out into some of that today, focused on browser extensions, app, and shadow IT. So first of all, everyone's moving to the cloud. We're not going to move back. People aren't going to move back to managing all 100% of their own data centers, 100% of their own file storage. There's just too many advantages to using cloud data. But cloud data changes security. I won't say cloud data reduces security or adds risk. I just think it changes it. As organizations move to cloud and SaaS data and apps, the attacks move to the cloud as well. We've seen more than a double of attacks in cloud data just in 2020. Some of it related to a natural progression, some of it related to a lot of work at home with COVID-19, but we are seeing a significant increase in clouds and attack data. There's several portals by which they attack. Some people attack with phishing emails, etc. But there's also a lot of other mechanisms going on, and we're going to dig into some of those other mechanisms today. And remember that the bad guys are constantly evolving their methods of technology, so we need a lot of technology to keep up with cloud-based security. Just think of just browser extensions. There's more going on here than browser extensions, but just for a minute, think on browser extensions. They form a massive shadow IT. Look at the Chrome store, for example. I personally love the Chrome store. I have quite a few extensions installed, but I looked at those extensions differently when I also ran against the security audit that David's going to take a quick look at in a minute. There's thousands and thousands of extensions and apps in the Chrome store. Google and Chrome Store do the best they can, but they can't necessarily do all of the security analysis needed. In general, end users in your organization self-discover, self-install, they self-grant permissions, they're managing these things in their own browsers. The actual stability and safety of each extension can vary greatly. The fact that an extension is extremely popular and has a high user rating is not a guarantee that it's safe. So we're going to dig into some of these. I'm going to let David take over in just a minute. We're going to deal with how you can control risky apps, how you can see what user behaviors are doing across your entire domain, particularly in G Suite. Understand how the data is being shared. How are these apps sharing data across to other people? And you can see and implement security policies. We have a product called SpinAudit. It provides automated evaluations of applications and user behaviors. We're constantly updating our knowledge of apps as we examine their behavior, and the apps can change. You can have an extension that you have used for years and you trust it, and an update can create a security flaw, either deliberate, probably mostly accidental, and that can be exploited by external people. So we're going to take a look at this, how we do the monitoring, 724 monitoring, how we score apps, how we blacklist apps, how we can implement security policies, and how you can see into what's going on in your world, and even how you can get security risks. Now, we may not drill into every one of these behaviors today, but this is basically what people need to do. We have an expert with us. We're really lucky. I forgot to put his name on here. I'm sorry, I didn't copy over. We have David Asatrian here with us. He is a real coffee guy. He loves French fries, and he's a great snowboarder. In addition to that, he's actually a deep expert in cybersecurity, particularly in the G Suite and Office 365 space. David, over to you. I'll go ahead and let you talk for a minute, and then when you want me to, I'll change it so you're the screen presenter. Go for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Grover, and also thank you for the amazing introduction. So we've built a tool here in Spin called SpinAudit, and what we do is we take a look at all OAuth connected applications and extensions in your G Suite organization. As you mentioned, Grover, everyone's moving to the cloud, and the number of these apps and extensions is drastically increasing. And with each app and extension comes the ultimate sacrifice of giving access to corporate data if you're especially connecting it to a corporate account. And our goal is to perform an assessment of these applications to provide organizations with information as to what these applications may entail or may do in the future. So we've added a lot of functionality. We now detect and assess all OAuth connected apps within our SpinAudit tool, including iOS and Android applications. What we do is we provide also a list of known vulnerabilities for each app extension that we detected. So we've subscribed to numerous libraries out there in the web. We gain all this information for each app and extension and present it here. Now, our goal, besides providing these assessments, is to provide proactive action for administrators in G Suite. So what we want is administrators to be able to automate the assessment and access management fully. And this is going to be end-to-end, and you guys will see it in action in just a moment. So the whole process of detecting an app, assessing it, and granting or restricting access to it can all be automated through Spin. And lastly, an approval process, a lot of organizations go through a lot of cumbersome steps to get this done, where users need to perform, file a report saying they need this app and this extension for these sorts of reasons. And I'll show you how we've made that very easy here at Spin. So if you can provide me sharing permissions, I'll go ahead and get started with the demo. Perfect. Grover, can you confirm that my screen is visible?
I can see your screen. Everything's clear. I can see the Spin1 dashboard.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're looking at the Spin1 dashboard, but I'll head into the SpinAudit tool, also known as risk assessment here at Spin Technology. Great. So what we do is we launch a scan of the organization every time a new app is detected and every time a new OAuth call is detected. And we look for all apps and extensions that are connected, regardless of what type of app they are. As long as they have an OAuth connection to your G Suite account, we are able to detect it and perform our necessary steps on it. So here we're taking a look at all the applications and extensions in our testing environment. And as you can see, each one has a couple of factors involved in the dashboard. First, we can see if the application is currently active or not. So does this app have an active OAuth access to your G Suite account? The last access is presented here, whether this is an application or an extension on the third column. Also, even more information, whether it's from the marketplace or if it's not from the marketplace. This is very important as well for scoring purposes. Here you have the actual evaluation itself, the name of the application or extension, and the category that it belongs in. So even this stage right here, detecting all the apps and extensions is very difficult in G Suite, as you'd have to go by user and by marketplace apps or domain installed applications. So this is presented all here. And once we detect these apps, we begin with the risk assessment. And I want to dig deeper into one specific extension, Bitmoji, very commonly known, and see what we do here. Now, the entire assessment begins with the scope of permissions. When you're installing an extension or any application, we go through a series of steps, one of which the most important is granting it access to your own data. And this is critical because sometimes it can be an application that's granting too much access for its intended purposes or too little access. So that is also part of the evaluation. And we also want to display administrators as to what sort of access this specific extension has to these users. So you can see the scope of permissions, and you can see that this extension has access to one user, to which we can see here. Now, what our goal here at Spin is to present to administrators what possible business operation risks, security risks, and compliance risks these apps and extensions can impose on their organization. So we have this framework in place on the scoring model, and we have around 20 different categories that we take a look at. So let's see what's taken into consideration. You can see for business operation risk, for example, we take into consideration number of users. Is it too high, too little? Same with user ratings, developer reputation. Is this a developer that appeared in the web yesterday and released a new application, or do they have a verified history? They've been releasing a number of applications, and so forth. Update frequency is also commonly important as well. Is this app being supported frequently, or is it not been updated in a long time and can have a lot of bugs and patches that need to be done? Categories taken into consideration, and let's head into secure risks. So does this app or extension have an SSL certificate? Are there any known vulnerabilities? And we can see that in the case of Bitmoji, there have been 5 vulnerabilities that have been detected. Now, through this interface as well, I'm able to exactly find out what these vulnerabilities were. And as you can see, all the information is presented here to help administrators with their assessment. Going back into the actual assessment, as I mentioned, we want to take a look at the scope of permissions. Is it too much? Is it too little? And we can see that in the case of Bitmoji, it requests full access permissions. And our analysis has found that for its intended purpose, it is requesting full access permission to data, which is a very high risk event. Lastly, we want to take a look at the compliance risk. So with the sacrifice of giving access to this application of your data, you're granting it access to store your data as well. So we want to let you know how compliant this application or extension is. And we can see for the case of Bitmoji, it has a published privacy policy, it's compliant with HIPPA, GDPR, CCPA, and the data is stored in the US and EU. And this is all included in the assessment. So you can see we have 3 categories here. Each category is weighted for its own score, which makes up the total score over here of 62. So we just took a look at how to manually go through the assessment of an application and what factors are included in it. Now we want to take further action. So if you want to take manual action, what we can do is we can block list or allow list the app. And what this means is grant our users access to this app or restrict it. So in the case of blocklisting, what I can do is head here and blocklist the app for everyone or for certain users or OUs in my organization. In the case that I don't want to restrict everyone from using it, just these users here, I'm able to do that from here. And the same goes for allowing it. I can allow everyone to use this application or certain users or OUs. And you can see that this assessment, as we saw for Bitmoji, is available for all applications that are connected to our G Suite organization. You have the separate categories here of block list and allow list that you can classify apps in, and you can even filter through all types of apps that we have detected having all access to the organization. Now, what we showed here was a lot of manual steps, manually going through the application, manually going through the assessment, and deciding whether to grant or restrict access to it. Let's say you have numerous amounts of application extensions. You're a large organization and don't want to sit down here and manually do it for each app and extension. What can you do? And we have some baseline procedures in place. It all starts with the security settings and the default policies that you set up for apps and extensions. So you can create a more passive or restrictive approach based on the needs of your organization. If you're already restricting access to everything in your organization, what you can do is take this restrictive approach by granting access to applications in the allow list only. Now, what this means is that each and every app and extension that is installed and connected to my organization will be automatically restricted unless it is sent in the allow list. And you can send applications or extensions to the allow list based off a security policy or based off manual action. Or you can take a different approach where you can revoke access to applications in the block list only and revoke access to extensions in the block list only. What this entails is that each and every app will be allowed in my organization unless it's sent to the block list by a security policy or by, again, manual action. So for the purposes of this demo, let's move forward with the strict approach where we're granting access to applications and extensions that are in the allow list only. And let's say I do not want to send applications or extensions to the allow list manually. How can I automate how apps are sent there? And besides these default security policies, what you can do is create additional policies that send apps and classify them based on a number of categories. So we're going to create a testing rule here for the block listing and allow listing of applications that applies to everyone in my organization. And going here, we can see a number of conditions that I can set and a number of actions that I can take. So the actions allow us to send apps to the allow list or to the block list, which is perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a rule to be able to send apps to the allow list. So my default policy where all apps are restricted can take place and only allow apps that are sent to the allow list. Now, I can classify apps sent to the allow list by 3 different conditions. First is risk score. So we saw the risk score and how the evaluation is done for each and every app. And what I can say is, you know what? Any application that has a risk score of 75 or higher, I want it to be sent to the allow list. And now every time an assessment is done for an application, we will check a score, we will check this policy and see if it matches this condition. So if it matches the 75 or higher condition, this application will be sent to the allow list. Therefore, my users will gain access to it. Otherwise, you can take two other different approaches. So you can go by category. In the case that, hey, administrative tools are very important for my organization. So if it's an administrative tool, I want it to be automatically sent to the allow list. Or if it's an HR tool or anything else. And the same goes for vice versa. If you're creating rules to send applications or extensions to the block list, you can use the same conditions as well. Hey, games should not be allowed in my organization. Therefore, I want all applications or extensions with the category games to be blacklisted. And lastly, you can choose to classify apps and extensions by their name. So let's say I have Spin Technology that I want the allow list. I can enter the name here or any other application that I would like. And the action is I would like it to be sent to the allow list. And once this rule is created, it will be on, and every time an application is detected, we will cross-check with these policies and take the necessary action and send it to the correct classification. So going back to the risk assessment menu, we just saw here how to automate the end-to-end process of detecting an app in the organization, performing an assessment of it, and all the business risk, security risk, and compliance risks you can impose, providing it with an evaluation score, and also classifying it by giving my users access to it or restricting access to it. And this is all, again, completely automated. Now, you may come across a situation where an approval process is needed. In the case that you're blocking a lot of applications in your organization, which is causing a lot of headaches for end users because they need this app for this purpose and they need this app for this purpose, you need a process that you can take to easily grant these users access, which is why we have released this approval process section that you see here. Now, once you connect a Spin Chrome extension for everyone in the organization, it will appear here. And every time an application or extension is blocked, your users will be able to see these apps and the full list here and take the ability to initiate the approval process. So in the case that I need this application, formal approvals here, and it is blocked, how can I do that? Say I am an end user and I have this Chrome extension and I see it's blocked. What I can do is open a ticket with my administrator through this Chrome extension. So I can say, hey, I need access to this extension. And what this will do once you initiate this ticket is it will open up a ticket here. So you can see over here that Emily has requested access to a Chrome extension named Piggy on this date, and it's waiting for actions by an administrator. Now, what the administrator will be able to do is to head in here into the Spin platform and check out all the pending tasks that they have to do, all the tickets they have to either grant access or decline access to. And we want to find out more information. So why does Emily need Piggy? And clicking on this will allow us to find that out. So we can see here the chat ticket that the end user had opened up. This extension will help me find discounts, for example. And now it's the administrator's place to take action. In case you need to speak with the end user more, you are able to continue the conversation through here, where the end user will be able to continue through the extension. Now, let's say you come across a situation where you have all the information and now you're deciding whether to grant or decline access to it. The next thing you can do is head over to the risk assessment. So why was this application automatically blocked by Spin? And you can go through what we did before with Bitmoji. You can go through the risk assessment and all these factors over here, understanding what is a very high secure risk, what is a very low risk for my application and for my organization to connect to this application. And going through this, what you can do then is make your decision. You can either enable this application for everyone or for certain OUs, or decline access to everyone or certain OUs. And this will complete the approval process. So as you can see, your end users are able to very easily initiate this approval process through a Chrome extension, and you are able to take action through the Spin platform. Now we have automation for how our apps are scored and they're classified. And we also have the approval process in case modifications are needed on these classifications. And this is extremely crucial because you want to build your defense on all access that is given out from your organization. The future of ransomware is through applications, especially in the cloud, and with cloud adoption being at an all-time high. Most organizations are holding their critical and important information in these applications and in G Suite itself. So giving access to these applications entails some sort of risk. And we want here at Spin to be able to provide you the tools necessary to perform the assessments and actions that you need to take for your organization's safekeeping. With that being said, I am done with my demonstration, Grover, and I'll shoot it back to you.
Thank you very much, David. Had to unmute, sorry.
No worries.
Thank you for that look inside. That was pretty good. And we're going to get some questions here in a minute. I got quite a few questions backed up here. The first question I have is, what's the overhead like? I mean, if you're doing this active monitoring, what do the end users see? Do they see a performance impact? Is their browser slowed down? What's going on?
No impact whatsoever on the end users. So we work through administrative privileges. The administrator once grants us to the organization, we are able to take a look at the logs and understand these OAuth calls, these assessments, and we take the rest from there with no impact on end users.
Okay, thank you. You showed an example where individual users were listed, but what about larger organizations? First of all, can you support larger organizations? And then can you create groups of users so that different roles can see or not see or use an extension?
Great question. So our platform is very scalable and we can accommodate to any organization of any size. And our automation is what can explain that as well. Because of this automation, any organization, regardless of the size, can use the solution. With regards to delegating permissions, this is also possible. You can delegate permissions to certain users having access to some security functions and others not being able to have the ability to go through the security functions. So it is completely up to the administrator as to how they want to delegate access.
Okay, so I've got one user here that says they got more than 50,000 users in G Suite. Can this actually monitor Chrome extensions for 50,000 users?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And we have actually a database of a lot of these extensions and assessments already being done for these applications. And the number is increasing daily. The user count is not that important as we can scale and accommodate all users.
Thank you. And the last question I got here, although we do have some very specific questions about environments, and we'll answer those one-on-one because they kind of create confidential information in them. But the last real question I have is, what's the refresh rate? You talked about you could get notified if something changes today. How often do we change our score assessment of these extensions?
Good question. So scores changes can be done through multiple reasons. First, the application has been updated, so there's been a change to the application. In the case that we detect that change, we will refresh and reanalyze the application immediately. The second thing is our scoring algorithms being improved, whether we're adding more categories of things that we're taking a look at, or just improving the weighted score, and that will also happen immediately. So we're working near real time where we're receiving this information from Google on the changes of these applications and immediately perform these assessments and update the customers as to what has changed.
Thank you. And here's the last question, and it's a little bit of a smoking gun question. How representative are risky extensions even in the Chrome store? Are there a lot? Are there a small handful? Are there tens, hundreds, thousands? How many risky extensions are there in the environment?
That's a very difficult question as to how many risky there are, because the Chrome extension store contains a ton of Chrome extensions. There's, I believe, around 290,000 the last time I checked, or even the number has increased. And each different application or extension requires different scopes of permissions. So that's what's most important about the riskiness of these apps and extensions. And we have detected a lot of risky applications. I do not have the number around for me to tell now, but these assessments aren't being done in G Suite. So when you actually take a look at the assessments, once you connect Spin to your organization and take a look at the assessment of each and every app and extension, you're able to detect all these risky applications yourself.
Thank you very much. And so just because people have been asking, we went ahead and put this in. We were showing SpinAudit, which is a very powerful tool. In addition to that, we have active backup, active ransomware protection, a lot of other features. You can go to our website, Spin.AI, and you can actually see the G Suite and the Office 365. There's a free trial. You can get started. So if people start the free trial, how long before they could be looking at some of these app audits and extension audits, David? How long does it take to get there?
So it depends on the number of application extensions. It can be anywhere from up to a couple of minutes, up to a couple of hours, depending on the total amount for the full sync to be completed. But once you connect the application to your organization, we begin already importing all the apps and assessing them near real time. So you will be able to see it right away.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance today. This event has been recorded. We will follow up with people who had some private questions. If you have any needs, please go to our website at spin.ai and you can contact us via forward. Thank you very much, David. That was great. It was a great look inside the product. So thank you very much for showing that and showing the new audit capabilities.
Thank you for having me, Grover.
Okay, thanks a lot. Everyone, we're going to end this event now. This event's been recorded. Thanks for attending.